How you doing there, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Onlive show. My name is Bruce. A lot of you may know me already. You've seen me in other groups or communities or platform launches with companies such as NextWeave, UseInfluence. You've seen me anywhere from Dub, Nimbus, some of your favorite tools that you use. That being said, this is going to be our first introduction to Onlive for most of you, and that's okay. And with that, we'll go ahead and run the credits and we'll bring on the founder. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, guys, I forgot I have to apply an audio to that. On that note, it's okay. Let me bring in the founder of Onlive, Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan.
Hi, Bruce. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. We're both looking a little fancy today. I noticed that. It's like the background, our rooms. Yeah, I noticed that.
Very, very color appropriate. The purple is on.
Trying to, right? Trying to make it look good.
Appreciate the tie. The tie is the main effect.
Exactly, right? Mr. Strickland. Hi there, Eric. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to drop in your comments and we'll go ahead and put them up on screen too, whatever they may be. Thanks again for joining us. All right, Jonathan, so let's just dive right in. For those people who don't know what online is, online or Onlive is, let's go ahead and give them a little brief introduction, if you will.
Yeah, so Onlive is virtual and hybrid and in-person event management software. So software as a service, deliver end-to-end solutions for managing all aspects of a virtual or hybrid or in-person event. So that's the sort of the elevator pitch of what we do.
Perfect. That being said, let's go ahead and do a quick little dive and take a look at the platform for those people who haven't purchased or who aren't familiar with it, or for those maybe who have never set up like an online event platform before. I think this would be a good introduction to have them grow a little bit of affinity for Onlive, and then people can ask some questions at the same time as well.
Absolutely. So I'll just share my screen.
Sure, please. There we are.
So perfect. This will be the first thing you see is our homepage or landing page. After you log in, you have access to all of your setup event, so that you have from before. From here you can duplicate, or you could go up here and create a new event. You can also manage things as your team and permissions and add in your fellow co-workers or even a customer if you're an agency. And under settings here, you could go in and set up Zapier. So if you wanted to sync your events with Zapier or Salesforce is available in the higher tier plans. Zapier is available already from the start, I believe. And you would just connect with Zapier and then select if you wanted to have all of your events synced or if you wanted to cherry pick one of the many events that you might host. So again, if we go back to the home page and I select one of the demo properties here, we see our 5 core modules. It's the registration website builder, it's the virtual event platform, the streaming studio, as well as communication channel and attendee check-in and badge printing. I will give a sort of a high level and I will dive a little bit deeper in sort of the comment section if there's any specific questions, or we can go deeper into that in a subsequent session. So in the registration website builder, it's sort of a modular setup. You have a preview here on the right side, and you have all of additional modules that you can add in here. And if we were going to say, for example, the general settings, you would be able to specify the domain. You could set up this with a CNAME instead, so that you could use youreventname.com instead of using our vanity URLs. You could set up if it is supposed to be accessible for everyone, or some with a password, or strictly invitee only for the entire registration website. You can manage some of the other integrations that we have for analytics. Google Tag Manager is also popular. Remarketing with Facebook Pixel. And you could set up if you wanted to have automatic access to the enclosed space where your streams will take place. So this would be sort of how it would look like. The banner, content block, agenda, venue if you have a hybrid event, speakers, sponsors, and a range of tickets. I will show you a little bit on how the form builder and the setup of paying tickets works with us. So again, sort of a full landing page that allows you to give maybe a little bit more than just your normal form.
Jonathan, it looks fancy. I'm just letting you know that landing page just sold me right there. That landing page. Well, if you scroll up to the top when you had that preview, I was like, oh, that looks a lot different from some of the other tools we've seen. It just looks a lot nicer. That's all.
Yeah, we usually get quite a positive response to having a little bit more than just a form, and
Yeah.
not necessarily having to be on some other brands.
Landing page service.
Yeah.
Right. So that's two things. One, that gives us an extra value prop with OnLive that, it creates elegant landing pages, number one. Number two, let's put a pause right there. We have some questions that came in, and then we'll continue on with the stream. So number one, can I embed the event link for promotion purposes on my website? I was like, well, technically you could copy a link, but are there embed options that OnLive provides so someone else can place it on their own website?
There's we don't have any widgets for embedding, and as long as you don't have payments, it's fine to sort of iframe it. But as soon as you add in payments, it's against PCI regulations to embed payments, sort of click-jacking and all of those sort of things that are coming into play. So not recommendable if you're taking payments, because it might be blocked.
So let's say you're doing a free event and they're not being charged anything. Are there embed options that OnLive provides for event coordinators for their clients' WordPress page?
So we don't have any WordPress plugins. Many customers set it up as a subdomain to their full-fledged WordPress site, where they set up a subdomain registration.eventname.com, for example, and then lead it over to us. But we don't set up the embed options. But some people do iframe it and just keep it to a sort of a minimized form, so to speak, where you just pick the ticket type and register from there. No problem with that.
Got it. Hey Brewster, hey there. Not sure who you are, so I can't give you the I can't give you the hello, but you need to give StreamYard authorization through Facebook. So it'll be StreamYard.com/Facebook. I'll put that up on the screen here in just a sec, and that's so I can say, hi John, how you doing? It'll look like this. I'll put it up on the screen right now. So currently you're going to use that link to go ahead and give Facebook permission. So that way I can give you a shout out and a hello by name. And that's for all of you here, because the next question is also from a John Doe. A 48-hour length means I can run a single event for 48 hours, correct? By then your website mentions a 72-hour plan under a standard or 72-hour event under a standard plan. How is that different from the premium plan on your site? Good question.
So it's 48 hours is from start to finish. So your start time of the event is over 2 days. So it's a 2-day event that you can host total. But the capacity of number of people is more generous of what you can do with the Absumo than it actually is for our standard plans. So we gave and take a little bit. So I would think we gave more than we took in terms of of generosity and capacity.
There you go. So I hope that helps answer your question. And next one, John Doe, how long have you been in business?
We started already in 2012, but as an agency. So we started building event technology already in 2012, and then launched as a software as a service in 2019. We launched the software as a service.
There you go. So hope that answers your question there too. Keep them coming, guys. We'll keep putting them up on the stream. And on that note, Jonathan, go ahead. We'll let you please continue.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I mentioned I was going to show a little bit on how the form builder works and how you set up the various ticket types. In this demo example, I have set up 4. You can do group registrations. You can also have free, and then you could have single. I did not set that up. But if I wanted to edit the form, it has a form builder. Again, the form could also be invite only or password protected. So you could have one of the tickets being only accessible by a selected few. So when you set up a form, you have segments. So you can create a segment called particulars that would have maybe the standard type fields, first name, last name, company name, and so forth. So if I wanted to add a new field, it has all of the sort of the standard stuff, counter drop downs that are IP based, date and time pickers, image uploads, and if you want people to specify their password directly here, you could. You also set the field to be internal field. That is for you to take notes. Say that you would use that for a table number if it's an in-person event or similar. We could also create segments. So I could create a segment for session booking or travel particulars if it's an in-person event. That is only reached by picking an option in the previous segment. And you could also just skip that segment and go to the next one. So quite useful if you have a little bit more comprehensive forms. In terms of payment gateways, we have Stripe and PayPal, Direct Connect. We don't process the payments. It's your account directly to Stripe and PayPal. And we have today an integration with Xero, so for invoicing purposes. That could be both for the sake of sending a PDF invoice for maybe group tickets that are typically a little bit larger, or if you just wanted to sort of book the revenue for bookkeeping purposes and also file credit card payments directly into Xero. So money collected from PayPal and Stripe can also be filed in Xero, making your life a little bit easier when it comes to declaring the revenue that you bring in from the ticket.
Any more integrations there that you're planning in the invoicing or accounting section, like QuickBooks or any other service?
QuickBooks is definitely in pipe. There haven't been huge demand for it, but QuickBooks is one of the ones that we would definitely be considering adding in. I think vouchers speak for itself. You can set up vouchers and you can see sort of the capacity of them. You can also specify things like minimum order, so it only kicks in after, say, 2 tickets. So if you have a group registration and you want to give a discount, you can specify that it has to be above a certain number of tickets purchased in order to claim this discount. All right.
Got it.
So I think that's sort of that on the ticket on the form builder.
Perfect. On that note, Jonathan, let me pause you. We got 3 questions. Let me have them come up, and then we'll go ahead and resume real quick.
Sorry, my bad.
So sorry about that, but we'll do chunks at a time, okay?
No, that's good. Waterfall.
Next one. How many breakout rooms could be created in an event? Good question.
Unlimited.
There you go. That helps you with your purchase needs, Mr. John Doe, who's asking about breakouts. All right.
So it's on the capacity of the event. So, well, your total number of registrations that you can have. That's the plan restrictions. And if you wanted to split that up into multiple events or into several sessions or into sort of breakout rooms for workshops or similar, we don't put a limit on that part.
Perfect. Makes sense. Next one here. Any plans on integrating with the Zoho CRM, not just Salesforce? Good question too.
There haven't been much demand. There haven't been much questions around so far. We have a public roadmap, and I'm more than happy to. Well, we do focus our development efforts based on what feedback that comes in. There has been a bit more from HubSpot, so HubSpot is a little bit closer, and the same with actually Marketo. There has been customer requests for those integrations. But absolutely, it's always a big one. So definitely open to it. I assume the workflows will be very similar to what we have for Zapier as well as Salesforce.
And I think the other big one is going to be HubSpot too. That's also become like a de facto standard for a CRM. I think that just makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great tool, and I foresee it being very valuable to add in there.
Next one. Any plans on creating an Android app?
Not immediately. I would rather say that we have in our roadmap a dual QR code. Now that people, thanks to restaurant check-ins and COVID restrictions, been so used to using QR codes from the functional utility, that you making it into a dual QR code instead, that you could use any app to check in, is probably closer in the roadmap rather than phasing it out into a Android app instead.
Well, that being said, I should share the link for people who want to see the Onlive application for live streaming, and I'm trying to find it here. And in the meantime, let's jump on to the next one. Do you have any training videos or how-to videos?
We do have, yes, absolutely.
Where would they find those? Are they going to be on a social media platform, or are they like more in a knowledge base?
They're more in the knowledge base. Also, when they purchase the Absumo codes, they are automatically sent via email.
Okay, so during the onboarding process, if they register their email, they'll have those resources sent to them in terms of how to create an event, like some sort of video link, essentially.
Exactly.
Got it. That's great and helpful, so that way people don't have to search for it. Question number 5: Can the recordings be downloaded in HD quality?
If it's streamed in HD quality, it's downloaded in HD quality.
There you go. And then this is my good one, or I like this, and not a lot of companies can say this. I like the fact that you guys work in 1080p, so I appreciate that. Yeah. We're used to in this community, we're used to dealing with a lot of events platforms that only deal with 720p. And for those of you who know, you know who you are. If you don't like the 720p, I'm right there with you. I prefer the 1080p also. But not a lot of companies do that. So, Jonathan, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And our vendor just gave us a heads up that 4K is coming. It is coming, but again, it's quite limited. It's a subset of users that actually have 4K. I'm sure you are one of them, Bruce. But us normal deadly people do not have 4K for streaming or the bandwidth necessarily to support it, because it does come with a little bit more requirements in terms of hardware.
And if your camera can handle it and your internet can handle it, I say, why not offer that as a capability? Is that something that is that exclusive to like an enterprise plan? Is that something that Absumo users will be able to get access to? Is that going to be unlocked for their plan later? How is that 4K upgrade going to work? Do we have any specific?
We haven't really gotten the cost aspects from the vendor just yet. We just know that it's going to be rolled out relatively early in 2022.
Okay, cool. The moment you get some updates, please let us know. We'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you guys for those 5 questions. Jonathan, sorry for the break. Let's go ahead and jump in on to the next section.
Yes, so I think we sort of covered a lot of the aspects here. Obviously, there's a bunch of content blocks here. And I think we can maybe move over to the virtual platform, which is what you see after you have signed up where the private spaces for you to interact with the streams, with other attendees and so forth. So this would be the back end, how it looks. Again, the preview. You can manage chat log if you wanted to remove something inappropriate. You can set login methods here again. You can either do magic links or a generic, so that you start with a generic and then you set the password on the first login. And that is quite useful if you don't use our system for distributing emails, if you don't use registration from us, maybe you import it straight from your other tools, then you can just communicate a sort of generic password and log in with that. Design options are also here, of course. And yeah, from a front-end perspective, it would look something like this. You have a event-wide chat here. You have access to all of the attendees in the event, and you have your inbox. There's a little widget here displaying what's coming up in terms of sessions. The same sponsors that we populated for the registration website will be available here. And then article section that can be used for both internal and external links. So if you have something that's linking to a donation page or similar like that, it could be used for that. So again, if we would go into a session, we can go into say this one. Oh, yeah. Here's a bit of content. I picked the wrong one, but you can populate the content, the speakers, and all of that here. It could be bookable, and if you booked it from the registration page, you will already be pre-booked for this particular session. And if I join the live stream, I have a chat that is session-specific chat. I have my engagement. We support Q&A, polls, and quiz and word clouds that could be accessible on a per session basis. They can be moderated. So if it's pending, approved, rejected, I'm a moderator right now. So I can approve and reject questions, and then they will be available for the wider audience, sort of. So if WordPress go live, it would be replace this screen here in the middle. Then we have our breakout rooms. That is not turned on. 1 second, sorry about that. I can show you how it works instead. So I can set up my breakout rooms like this. I have, in this particular case, I have 6 breakout rooms or something like that. I can assign a moderator, I can assign a sponsor to any of these rooms. I can set the room opening hours, and I can then do advanced settings. So it's after 11 p.m. my time, so that's why. I can set if it's free seating, anyone can sit down, or I can select the attendee list per room. So if I wanted to sort of create a carousel between, say, different topics, or if it's different sponsors or similar like that, or product lines, I could sort of create a carousel based on several time slots, so to speak. So that's how the breakout rooms, and you can have up to 18 people that's in a breakout room at the same time. All right. Sponsors is a little bit similar. You have structures that you can structure them. Sorry, let me go back. You can structure them into 3 different tiers: gold, silver, bronze, and then they get different sizing. And in the sponsor, you have different content options. You can download white papers, you can have a video, you can have a logo, some social media links, and you can schedule a meeting with a representative. So you can have multiple representatives, so sort of schedule meetings with for one-on-one demos. And then lastly is the networking aspects, where I also didn't set it up. Here we go. Where you can filter based on after attendees, best match, online, my country, and I can schedule a meeting with someone to have a one-on-one, and also start that meeting from here, so that I have my one-to-one call directly from the platform without having to leave it to other platforms. And I guess the last thing I wanted to show is we have this little gamification element. You can collect points. You as an organizer can structure the point structure. What should award points, and how much should it award? And you can maybe specify if there's something that's given. This is again collected in the stats, so that you could announce a winner, or send a gift, or similar. So that's sort of how that part works. And again, if there's something that you don't need to use, you can always turn that off. So if you don't have networking, or if you don't have any sponsors, you can turn off all of these different little modules here. I'm gonna go into the streaming studio quite soon, but I'm gonna do that after the next break, I think. So I'll go into communication, because I need to stop my camera in between. So in the communication channel, that's where you can send invitation, reminders, and thank you. They're all sort of segmented. So invitation has your invitation list, and reminder is the ones that have already signed up, and thank you would be the ones who attended or logged into the platform. And it has a relatively simple builder, where you can add in you can remove our logo, you can throw in a new banner. It has the standard sort of buttons to collect registration and decline, and then of course they would be filtered out from a next round. You could schedule this. You can schedule your segments. You'll be sending that a couple of times a week until the event. And I think that is sort of understandable. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend so much more time on that, unless there's specific questions to that. One question that you probably want to know is that if you can set up your own email sender, and you can add in an SMTP instead. What many people do though is that they, instead of going through that hassle, maybe they just set a reply inbox, so that if someone replies, it is routed to your normal inbox, so you can respond to that. Then you don't have to set up SMTPs and care about your limits for SMTPs.
Yeah, that is requested often, SMTP. Another support channel that people will ask about sometimes also is if they can embed their chat widget onto the event page or the landing page.
So yeah, we have Intercom is the only one that we have implemented so far, and actually haven't been used that often, but we do have support for Intercom.
Right. So then we couldn't necessarily use our own chat service, right? Because there's like 50, 100 different chat companies. We couldn't just apply our own JavaScript embed onto the landing page, so that way we could have our own level of support that we could provide to our customers.
No, and the reason for that is that we're under quite a strict compliance. So adding JavaScript code into pages is, of course, comes with a little risk. So that's why every integration is sort of vetted in that sense, because of SOC 2 compliance and other sort of enterprise requirement.
So for those of you, or for myself also, I don't know, like in the events world, what company is enforcing the compliance and security standards?
Which companies?
Yeah, or what company? Is there like a central overhead company that is enforcing all that?
So we are SOC 2 compliant, which is, I guess, quite standard, high security compliance for software as a service, relatively equivalent to the ISO 27K, but maybe a bit more focus on controls regarding software infrastructure, employees, and so forth. And while as the ISO is a little bit more generic, I would say.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and continue on.
Yeah, and the attendee check-in device You can set up check-in methods. So search by QR code, fallback method, if you should be using the front-facing camera or the back-front-facing camera. If you want to do session check-ins, you can set up which sessions should have check-in. And for badging, we have 3 different printing methods: Apple AirPrint, Brother, sort of label stickers, and so forth. And then Zebra, which is something that you typically rent, more industrial grade, those fan-folded ones that you will probably have seen at trade shows. They're all from the Zebra brand. Then you can set which fields to print and sort of adjust the layouts and all of that you're printing. You can also set up permissions. So if you want to have separate access just to the app, well, then you have to have access to the application. But then maybe for reporting access, you don't want your ushers or part-timers to have access to check-in data. So you can set a password for this as well. Walk-in registration, if you're accepting that, you could select which fields to be able to add in that you're collecting. I think sort of that is the yeah, sorry on that. Yeah, that's sort of that on the check-in part. And I think if I need to actually stop my camera and then I'm gonna.
Jonathan's testing out the studio here. Just 1 second, guys. There it is. Obviously, you can't be on StreamYard at the same time as OnLive. Just FYI, guys. That's why we have Jonathan shutting off his camera right now on StreamYard. Jonathan, you're muted too, as well. Just FYI.
Better?
There you go. Yep, you're back.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do have different layouts here, sort of similar to what we have experienced in StreamYard. You can control, emphasize, and of course the share screen elements
Sure.
of the stream. You can have a chat with your fellow speakers as well as the attendees. You can launch. We can enable moderation. You can answer your questions and launch polls, surveys, and quizzes straight from here. And you can all of the streams would be automatically be recorded. So if you wanted to add one of the recordings, you could add that to media and then add that as a stream that out to the audience. And the reason why we do it this way instead of share screen is because the bitrate and all of that is not that great if you try to share screen a video, and it often appears as a bit laggy. Whereas now we can stream it in full speed instead, and maybe even 1080. Then we have stream settings where you could select if you want to use OBS, vMix, StreamYard as your studio instead of ours. So you could bypass our web-based studio. And in some cases, we see that even for the same event, you run a couple of the sessions using our studio where you have remote speakers. And then maybe for the main session where you want to have a green screen, professional lighting and sound, you would use your own studio with OBS or vMix or similar. Then in secondary destinations, you can set up your RTMP streams or a custom RTMP out. Raise hand functionality. That is if you want to allow anyone from the audience to be visible inside of the studio, and they can raise hand. You approve them. They are added into the stream. And then watermark, it's to add logo and that is added into the stream. So I think that is sort of the high level of what the studio can do. We are currently relatively near an upgrade here, where we're going to move to headless browsers, giving us a little bit more flexibility over the streams, adding in lower thirds, a couple more functionalities when it comes to showing poll results, things like that inside of the stream. I guess one of the reasons people choose to use us is that they appreciate having that sort of enclosed space. There haven't been that much requests of bringing in social media comments and all of that, but absolutely willing to explore that two-way sort of commentaries like what we now experienced. But the new studio is having it has a much more flexibility when it comes to more designs and lower thirds and so forth, as I mentioned.
Got it. So for those people who aren't familiar with that tech, we call that headless browsers. When do you see that coming into play for OnLive?
We're quite soon. We're quite near. I would say slightly after Christmas, I would reckon.
Got it. So a lot of people are going to want to be able to test that out once it goes live. Will they be able to do that test from, like, let's say their AppSumo purchase? In other words, will AppSumo still be around around Christmas time, around January, so they could test out that live streaming feature, that major upgrade that you're talking about?
Yeah, we haven't set a definite date just yet on when we're going off AppSumo. It's sort of a good avenue for us, but obviously it has we don't want to be forever green, but I think we haven't set a fixed date just yet. So I would reckon so. Christmas is coming soon. It's just a little over a month away, so I would assume that it would definitely be available on AppSumo by that time.
Okay, yeah, because I know, like you and I have talked about having that headless browser feature can be a game changer. You know, maybe we want to also show a little bit of that, the capabilities of that, you know, that ultimate game change once the AppSumo community can also use it and test it and reflect that, right? It makes sense that they would like to see something like that. Yeah.
We can definitely drop a little bit of updates on that in coming shows. It's no problem. Again, it just gives full flexibility of what we can do in terms of layouts, what we want to bring into streams, edge to edge, and things like that. That might be a little bit challenging,
right,
with the current tech.
So we have a few questions that have come up. Let's go ahead and put those up on screen. So another John Doe says, is there a limit to how long each meeting can be?
48 hours.
There you go. Yep. Number 2, do you offer an agency level?
Early stage. We do offer some commission and affiliate commissions to agencies. We do have quite a few agency partners that are sort of our extended sales arm to a certain extent, and we have given some sandbox accounts to those. But since they're launching AppSumo, many of them have actually purchased AppSumo accounts instead. So they run that for their own smaller events, their smaller accounts, and then when they need larger accounts, they have reached out to us again, and we have gone ahead with and not 100% automated affiliate program, so it's not an automatic kickback or anything like that just yet. But it's sort of in the progress, depending on the popularity of it.
Well, there is something that, I mean, I'm familiar with it, and I've helped out structure out agency plans and dynamics for companies, and a lot of the space and this niche is kind of familiar with me building that out. But let me expand on what they might be looking for. It's custom to have like an admin of an agency to look for, hey, are there separate workspaces per brand or per customer base? Because obviously you don't want to blend the subscriber lists of, of emails that you may be gathering as leads. You don't want that shared with another client. Okay, so that would be number one. And then number two, let's say they need to apply SMTP settings per client, right? Let's say one day a client is HP, and this is just, yes, it's an enterprise example, but just bear with me. Let's say one client is HP, one is Nike, and then one is Dell. Okay, great. So they're going to want to know, can I have the SMTP and the landing page be for HP? And I can assign specific teammates and clients just to that event and workspace. And then vice versa. Can I do the same thing with Dell? Can I do the same thing with Nike?
Yeah. So if you go back to my screen again, I will show you a little bit on how the Teams information works.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you can structure teams. So if you and your partner would be set as owners, or maybe the core of the team that should have access to all of the events, you could add in your customer A into All Stars 1 and your customer B into Team 2, and they wouldn't know of each other's existence, nor see any of their properties or reports or anything like that. And that's quite common also in enterprise world, I would say, where you don't, maybe you have an East Coast and a West Coast department, and they, out of practicality, don't need or want to see each other's deployments. All right.
Good. There you go. Team permissions.
And to answer the second question about domains and emails, that is on a per property basis. So if you you could set that up so that you have one per event even.
Well, the other thing I was going to ask is you may want to assign certain teammates to, let's say, certain brands, right? I'll have John Smith, who will be attached to brand A, and then I'll have Mary Jane attached to brand B, right? That also may work out where HP may only have one registered user or one admin for the event, but he needs assistance. Great. How do I have to create that on my end for my, teams and permission matrix? I have to create an additional teammate and assign the teammate of, let's say, their assistant to that one brand. In other words, it's almost like a workspace teammate or a brand teammate, but for software reasons, the platform only allows one admin, but they still need more assistance. Great. So that way I can assign some of my internal VAs or assistants, and they can assign their assistants too. I'm just the one facilitating the invite process.
Yep. So we do have a bit of different roles as well. So we have these three, and we are actually adding a fourth now, which is vice versa. It's one that have access to everything except customer data. So that would be sort of for the brand to add in an agency. So that's the other side of the agency plan, where we're now actually providing quite a bit of customers to our agency partners, because sometimes they need help with producing and coming up with creatives and all of that. So then that sort of agency role have access to all of the content except user data, which is sometimes a requirement for banks and governments and so forth.
Right. I see there at the bottom it says team, right? Select the team to add this member to. Can you assign a team? Let's say it's a team of already established 5 people, and let's say it's Bruce's team, right? Can you take those 5 teammates and assign those teammates to a specific event? Instead of doing individually, just invite the whole group by saying team A will go to the HP event.
No, not today. It's the team sees everything it's sort of syndicated on a per team level.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Doing a group invite, or if they're already part of my platform, right? Let's say they're already part of my account. Let's say then I want to assign those teammates and say, okay, those teammates will be auto-assigned to HP. So the moment the next time, let's say they wake up and they log in, they'll see the HP invites because I did a team, I changed the team permission essentially. So team permissions or group admissions aren't necessarily there on an event by event basis or brand or customer basis.
No, it's today it's structured on Teams, but it actually is coming in a little bit of an update relatively soon in terms of how templates work. So you can create templates for different teams, and you can set visibility of the templates. But I'm not sure. It's not really exactly what you're looking for. But
Well, just group invites.
yeah,
You may have 6 people, and you may have 5 different clients. I don't want to have to
yeah,
send 30 invites, right? But it makes sense if
yeah.
I can just invite a group at the same time. Or let's say if they're already part of my team in Onlive, it just makes sense that I give them permission to view that specific event.
Yeah, similar to Slack, right? You have different workspaces and then you have different channels and so forth, and you can pick and choose who sits where. I get where you're coming from. It's not as granular. It's more on a per team basis, and that team sees everything. But what's coming is that you can create certain templates that are visible for you as an owner. Can create template and set the visibility for that template. So that I could select that I'm creating this placeholder event, boom, it goes to All Stars, or it goes to Team Two.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So that being said, let's talk about the AppSumo plan, since this is a very natural and organic segue. How many teammates do people get to play with their campaigns that they're going to be purchasing?
So the first one is the single code is one team member, and then we have a double, which is three, and then the triple code or multiple, as it's called, has 5 seats.
Now, let's say they wanted to get, let's say, more teammates because they want to do some sort of like agency structure. Is there anything in place for them to purchase more, whether that be one time or a recurring revenue add-on?
Currently, it's available as recurring, and I think it's 89 per month that you over those months can add
How
on
many?
team members.
Yeah, and how many teammates do you get for that 89 a month?
One.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah, that's how it's structured. So it's our retail costing for that.
cool. Alrighty. Um,
Um,
that was pretty good. Let's. Do you want to continue on moving forward on the next screen there?
I just wanted to touch base on a little bit on the reporting before we
Sure.
knock it off on the demo. I know it's been people are
Sure.
probably tired of hearing my voice already, but we do collect all of the registration data for you, um, down to waiting lists. If you have a waiting list for your event, it's not that popular anymore, but sometimes it's only has to create the exclusivity. You can manage everything on updating on attendees, session performance. If you have sessions, you could create custom charts to measure areas of interest. Maybe that would be a KPI that you're looking for. You could then create a custom chart that sits here in the key statistics. Then you have the different ticket classes. The referral source could be added without having to add Google Tag Manager or anything like that. It captures that automatically, as well as registrations by country. And now I haven't even connected with Google Analytics, but that would also be visible here if you did connect with Google Analytics. Then on the revenue side, this is haven't collected any revenue. You can see the performance of the vouchers. You could do this is pending, so it hasn't been collected yet. But you could, if it was PayPal or Stripe, you could also conduct a refund from here. So if you need to do a refund, you can do that from here without going to PayPal or Stripe. Then on communication side, emails, invitation conversions, SMS is sent. If there's anyone who's bounced or unsubscribed, they are listed here. Sometimes bounces are gives a false positive, so you can actually remove a bounce from here. Then attendance, if you do check-in, you can see who came, the attendance report of who got checked in, and then virtual platform will be the last one, where you can see stream turnout. So this one has a little bit of data as well. Pages. Stream turnouts, unique logins, activity, download. You cannot download the messages, but you can see how many messages have been sent. and session views and sponsors, and how sort of people navigated within the different modules of your platform. And the same thing goes on a per stream basis. You can go in and look and see the turnout and entry and exit and duration of how long people stayed inside of a session. So that is sort of the high level of what we capture and what is available in terms of reporting. Yeah.
Perfect. So for those of you who are not also part of the group, let me give you the URL for that as well. And please feel free to take a screenshot. There you go. Take a screenshot of the stream right now, so that way you could visit us later and ask any questions about today's stream. We're also streaming into the group as well. So for those of you who don't have access, don't worry. You can see the replay inside the group and then ask Jonathan and myself some questions. And we'll be streaming there just like we're doing on the Facebook page, just like we're doing on YouTube, just like we're doing on Twitter, just like we're doing, by the way, Jonathan, I checked, we are live on LinkedIn also.
I saw that, yeah.
And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. It went through. So thank you, StreamYard, for making that happen. The communities, the early adopter community is going to be located here below. So please take a screenshot with your phones. And we're looking forward to having you guys join us inside the group and asking us some questions, because next week we will be having you guys live and on camera. And for those of you who join us on camera, specifically on camera, those of you guys who do come on, you will get a few little perks and bonuses. Now, Jonathan, I'll leave it up to you if you want to talk about it now, what some of those incentives might be, or if you want to wait till next week, that's totally up to you.
Let's see what comes in of questions first. I might not want to have anyone on the video. No, we'll definitely get some usage credits. It's going to be extended usage credits, might be additional seats. There might be some other perks of early access and more premium features that we have in the pro plans.
There you go. There you go. So, guys, we're looking forward to seeing you guys all next week. It's coming close to the 1 hour mark, so thank you all to everyone who's been joining us all across the web. Little by little, we'll be making these streams, better as the weeks come by. Let us know what you guys think. We're thinking of doing around, so today was Monday, 7 a.m. Pacific. We're thinking of doing it around 8 a.m. Pacific. And the reason why I say that is so that we can try to cover as many time zones as possible. Let us know what you guys think about that. Jonathan, thank you very much for your time and coming in and joining us today. Again, I like your background, and I know you like mine too. So fancy.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
And we'll see you guys all next week. Cool. Have a good one, guys.
Okay. Bye. Good night.
Take care.